Right, hello, welcome to episode 2 of 23 MPH. We're joined by the legendary Liam.
Stop
Welcome,
it.
mate.
Stop it.
Great to have you on. So yeah, we're just going to have a chat about Liam's story, Liam's struggles with mental health, story of your life, really, if you don't mind. Intertwine a little bit of football chat as well, because 3 weeks ago we sat here and spoke about the Euros and how excited I was and how I thought it was coming home, and I could just see it being us bringing it home in the most forgettable way.
It's already come home.
Yeah.
The darts championship.
Oh.
I think we've already won it, mate. We've already won it.
What a snooze fest it's been, though. When you see like how good Spain have played, I know everyone knows like the conversation and the criticism around England, but. Yeah, I didn't mind if we went out the other night. I genuinely thought, that's it, fine. It's more apathy than disappointment. You know?
Yeah, like I watched it, and in my head I'm telling myself we don't deserve it. Like if we were to lose, I wouldn't be upset because I know that we are not playing in a way that actually deserves to win the Euro.
And why does it take us to concede to actually want to play up and you know, like have that rocket?
And you see videos of English fans are just dickheads. Like, I know there's a minority of fans that are dickheads for every single team, but you see it and I just think I wouldn't be too disappointed actually. Well, I suppose I would be disappointed if we went out, but like you say, it's deserved. And
in a way, I think like the way it's been with boring is better for my mental health, because if it was a proper roller coaster, like we would deserve to win, but we had loads of like penalties not awarded or bad decisions or whatever, I'd be a mess. I'd be raging at the telly. But I think actually the fact that it's just been a bore fest, I've just been all right, fine.
Yeah, we know what we're expecting now.
Yeah,
Just get your,
which is such a shame for the players that we've got.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's the thing that has hurt me the most. Is like with the absolute wealth of talent, that it's like we're playing with, you know, like a B-Tech team. It's upsetting to see, especially when you see them do so well domestically. You think on the international stage, like that's their chance to
Totally
blossom, and they're just wilting.
And I think we said last time, we're recording this ahead of the semi-final. This is Monday the 8th. So we've got a couple of days to get excited again for the semi-final against the Netherlands. So things could change.
Excited, did you say?
We could get excited. We could do. We could buy into it again.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing.
Should we do two versions in case we win out?
I'm definitely going to try and get it out beforehand.
But I know, like, no matter what happens, if we go out on Wednesday, I'll be like, oh, fuck's sake, deserve that, load of shit. And then I'll forget about it in 2026 and be like, it's fucking coming home, boys! Let's go! North America 2026.
I'm really, really hopeful to get out there. Really hopeful. But there's women to make sure that hurdle first.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure there's plenty of shops out there. Just bring back some nice fancy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
some shiny stuff.
Yeah.
I got a mate who lives in Georgia actually, and he said he works for like a private jet company.
Oh, shut up!
Because they work with airlines. He said he gets 50% off flights, and if I ever want to come over, me, the missus, and the boy can come over. It's like, you stay with us. We live a few hours from Disneyland as well, so we can go up there. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll plan that in for like summer 2026 sort of time. I don't know if Georgia will be a host city, but it's bound, well, I was going to say it's bound to be close to one of the host cities, but nothing's really close in America. Like when he's like, oh, we're only 3 hours from Disney World. Like, that's normal. Like,
yeah. Only 3 hours.
Yeah. Like,
but you can pretend to have a 45-year-old son, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Just get the fucking old.
The maths don't work, but fuck it.
Can I bring my Uncle Ross?
Yeah, fucking man be fat on the plane.
Imagine.
Just get him on there.
Yeah.
Let's go.
They'd have to split us up, wouldn't they?
Mate, it's hard enough. It's hard enough to arrange football on a Tuesday night. How are you going to arrange going out to America?
Definitely.
Oh, right.
Anyway,
that's football done.
Yeah. Football done. Well, we might come back, but we'll see. Yeah. So yeah, Liam, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We spoke a little bit before filming about your story and things you wanted to share. So it's an open table. Maybe we'll interject once or twice whilst you're chatting. But I don't know if you've got like a particular place you want to start talking about, or yeah, we'll just see how we get on, I guess.
Okay. No pressure.
Yeah.
Sweating now.
And also, if it's okay, if we come in with questions if that's all right.
I'm open to questions.
Cool.
I think the more questions it gets things going as well. So 100%. If you've got a question,
not a monologue.
Feel free to jump in at any point. Crikey, where'd you begin? So watching the first few videos for me was really good. Like having people within our community that have the balls to kind of be like, do you know what? I'm not okay, but I'm going to talk about it. Like Russ's story, everyone's stories have been nothing short of extraordinary, really. But like sort of things like what Russ has been through, what everyone goes through day to day, but also just in general, it sort of give me that sort of bit of a kick up the arse to just sort of be like, I might not be okay, but if I talk about it, there might be other people that have been through what I've been through, or what we all struggle with silently, and talk about it, and it just sort of makes things a little bit more bearable day to day and week to week, month to month, sort of thing. So I want to start with that because I think the way you spoke was lovely, and obviously it was really hard to sort of hear what you've been through and having to sort of not be able to have your grieving process at the time that you would like it because it's been put the waylaid or being resurfaced. So it's just good to hear that there's not good to hear in that way, but you know what I mean, that like my struggles day to day, month to month, week to week, I'm not alone. I've got people around me that have also struggled sort of thing. So where I start is a bit of a tricky one. I've always had I guess sort of like issues in my life growing up. My mum was quite young when she had me. She only just turned 19, so she was kind of not really, although she was a parent, she wasn't really sort of in that mind frame in the early 90s to be a parent, as it were. So my nan sort of took the reins with sort of teaching me, I guess, etiquette, sort of how to sort of conduct myself, really. Which I credit her massively for, sort of little things like the sort of chivalry of holding the door open, or, just little things. It's just that sort of things that people take for granted nowadays.
And was it just your nan or nan and granddad? Or?
Just my nan, my nan.
So she was making sure that she would play the male role model of the chivalry aspect. Yeah, most definitely, My granddad on my mum's side passed away when my mum was 15, which I think was like the turning point. She was like an A grade student at that point, and it just kind of went second her dad went. So that was probably she was I guess she was quite good in that sense of sort of trying to do both sides of it.
So was he quite young as well, your granddad? Presume if your mum was 15. Well, I don't know the dynamics of how old they were when they had your mum.
They were a little bit more traditional in terms of that. I think I'm pretty sure he passed away in the garden, had a heart attack, and he just like that, just conked out. But I'm not entirely sure of his actual age when he passed away. I've never really. It's one of the questions I really want to ask. So I've just always assumed that he was of a senior-ish age. At that point, but I don't know exactly how old. And again, I never asked my nan because she always told me it was rude to ask a lady her age. So never asked it. That's what, on a black eye. It was one of the things that was just never really sort of spoken about. So, but she was again sort of silver haired. So I'm going silver myself, but I just assumed that she was in the sort of senior category. She raised me. She brought me up and sort of taught me how to conduct myself, and mum was sort of, like I say, quite young and sort of still wanting to go out and party and do all the sort of things a 19-year-old person would want to do. So I mean I never really sort of saw much of that. I don't really remember a lot of my childhood up until that point. It's kind of all a bit of a blur. Something that really stands out to me was like I said just a minute ago, I was in my first year at secondary school, so I think it was early teens, late sort of before teens, pre-teens. We lost my nan, and literally like having to organise a funeral with my mum at the time and stuff like that. It was a bit chaotic, so I didn't know what I was doing. But my mum's always struggled with alcohol addiction. At that point, when I was that age, I only thought it was alcohol addiction. As I've sort of grown up and been exposed to other things, I've realised that it was more than just alcohol. But at the time, being sort of young and not knowing what drugs were, it was just alcohol at the time. Where was I going with that?
Well, it was a difficult time to lose your nan.
Yeah.
And you probably had to, if I was reading between the lines, step up at a young age to help with organising.
Yeah, massively. It was
helping your mum cope.
Yeah, it was weird because it was just kind of like I went from being sort of like a pre-teen to a teenager to being like, oh yeah, give me them reins. I'm steering the ship now, which was really sort of, again, I hadn't been taught that was right or wrong. So for me, that was the normal, just to sort of be like, give me the wheel kind of thing. And literally, like I said, I just remember saying it a minute ago, we were sat on the wall where Staples and Halfords was, I think it's Aldi now, literally at the phone box, and she had a Kimbo bottles of wine, crying her eyes out. This was after the funeral.
Who's this, your mum?
Yeah, my mum, sorry. She was sat there, she just made a phone call in the phone box that was there, and literally she was like guzzling wine like it was a kind of Pepsi Max. Other drinks are available.
Such as Guinness.
Please drink responsibly. Honestly, I'm so bad at this. So yeah, literally a Kimbo bottles of wine, drinking it like it was nothing. And she literally looked up at me and went, "You're all I've got left." And at the time, it sort of, again, it was one of those realizations that like, oh shit, yeah, literally, like we have family, but it was very sort of, we were close knit to our little bit. And it was the realization of like, oh yeah, shit, this is what I've got now.
Did you have any cousins or auntie or uncle or anything, or were you literally now just a unit of two?
Pretty much. My dad's in the picture, but I saw him every other weekend. So it was, for 99% of the time, it felt like it was just me and mum. We were kind of like, we did everything
against
together.
the world.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And we'd go through phases. She suffered really badly with alcoholism to begin with. Like I say, I sort of tried to just take the wheel on it all. Sort of, again, like I say, it didn't feel like it was anything out of the normal, because it's your mum kind of thing, you do anything for him sort of thing. So like whenever she was sort of ready to sort of get sober, if that's the word, well, it is the word, we used to do sort of like, she did the Providence Project, the same one that Gaza went through.
Oh yeah, Boston.
Yeah, she did that. She went through the rehabilitation program. We then had to do like a networking of 60 meetings in 60 days. And again, it's literally just so that you're all like-minded people, so you all have a similar sort of circle, but it's very cliquey. So like sort of find out, which people are your people, sponsors, and just network. So you can, if you're feeling low, well, help me kind of thing. So yeah, it was good. So basically, instead of her just going along on that journey herself, I basically sort of Sundays would have to drag her to a meeting and go, come on, we're only 30 days into our 60 and 60. Let's go. So yeah, literally I was there every single meeting that she went to. I attended. I was the only child there. Most people that were there were just sort of, recovering alcoholics with, if they do have children or things, it was left somewhere else. So I was the only child there sort of thing. So it was a bit weird being in that environment, but
I was going to say that, like, coping with that as a 12, 13, 14-year-old must have been like, I mean, I was so ill. I was nowhere near worldly enough to cope with that at that age. Some of the things you must have been hearing, some of the stories, and also seeing people that, when you're young, adults are the grown-ups in the room, for one obvious analogy, and to see them being vulnerable, weak, emotional, you might be thinking, Christ, what is life going to be like for me?
Yeah. Do you know what? In a way, again, it was my normal. So like, I didn't sort of look at it and go, oh, this is a strange situation to be in. I was just like, my mum had an issue. We want to sort that issue. So this is my normal. I'm here for her benefit. But in terms of stories, yeah, there were some horrific stories. Like most times when a meeting was held, there'd be a sort of a main spokesperson that would sort of have an hour's sort of share. And then from that sort of main share, you would have people that would step up and, my name's Liam, I'm an alcoholic. Thank you so much for your information. I resonate with it a lot. And, you'd get different people that would jump up and say thank you to the person at different meetings because their story relates to them more than that person's story. So, yeah, there were some horrific stories in there. Whether we go into it or not, it's probably a different matter. But
I guess it depends how much it affected you.
Yeah.
Like if a story stuck with you that was just like ended up giving you some kind of trauma, then
yeah, one that sticks in my mind, and I remember it like it was yesterday. This is the weird thing, is that I'm talking, what we're now, 32. So this is nearly 20 years ago now. But I remember it like it was yesterday. And I've got a memory that's terrible. I can't remember what I had for dinner last night. So like the difference here is mental.
Yeah, this is burned in.
Yeah. It's branded on. This mate he's sharing at the start of the meeting, and obviously like when he has his episodes of binge drinking, he blacks out. Woke up next morning after a session, and literally from head to toe covered in blood. Right, and he's woke up and has gone, what's going on here? Obviously someone's playing a prank or something. Bed's pissing with blood. There's blood everywhere. Sort of comes out of his haze and sees that he's basically horrifically murdered his wife.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And he only knows about this the next morning when I wouldn't say he's back on this planet, but he's more on the planet than he was the night before. And he literally, like I said, I remember it like it was yesterday. I woke up covered in blood, looked to my side, there she was, all just basically just red. Obviously, I knew it was me, so I took myself to the police station and had myself in. And then he hasn't drank from that day onwards. Whether he's still sober now is obviously a different matter. I'd like to think, hopefully, touch wood, he is, for his sake and everyone else's. But yeah, like again, whether I was 13 or a little bit older at this point, because this was a slow burner. I don't know.
Still, you're being exposed to graphic, real, honest tales.
Yeah.
It just must be making you struggle to sleep at night. And what if my mum has a session that ends up
exactly
causing harm to somebody?
That's it.
You may have even feared for your own life. I don't know, but wow.
Yeah, there was moment. There's always been moments. I said it just a minute ago as well. Like when I'd come home from school, it's weird putting these two sort of situations together. Like here, just saying what I've just said, and then being like, oh, when I come home from school, like those two avenues should never have intertwined.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Like it's like a child protection type thing should have protected you from that.
Yeah. It's good point actually.
But then, did you ever find that? I don't know whether that was something that was ever suggested, but did you have like this loyalty? You spoke a lot about, how it was you and your mum against the world, and I'm assuming that there was some loyalty there, and that you didn't want that yourself to be taken away from her, or to have to leave her on her own.
So this is it. This is the thing. I think, as much as when it was bad, it was bad. I'm only really sort of bringing out the bad bits now, so it sounds worse than it was. But when it was bad, it was bad. But when it was good, it was really good. Like we were thick as thieves. We would, like I say, most kids when they're sort of in their sort of pubescent years, that sort of teenage sort of era, they don't want to be seen dead with their mum. Whereas my first port of call is not like, oh, do you want to come round for the night? It was like, or do you want to go out for the day? It would be to my mum. Oh, should we go out shopping somewhere or whatever? That she was like my one sort of like my first option. So yeah, like as much as I can say I'm saying the bad stuff, but like it was good at the same time when she wanted to be. That was the caveat. It was kind of, pardon me, it was on her terms, but I didn't know that at the time.
And when we're kids, we want to be like our peers. Did you have sort of any feelings of resentment or kind of jealousy for mates who may have had like a normal family setup, or was you would just that didn't even faze you?
So I used to think my friends were strange. When I used to go around like a mate's house and like his mum was presentable, I used to think that he was the weird one. But like, why isn't she like half cut on like sort of like this on the sofa or something? Or why is she not trying to stash that quarter bottle of vodka down the side of the sofa and stuff like that? And just like, I thought that mine was the normal and everyone else was the weird ones kind of thing. So yeah, it was strange, but yeah, it was
That's probably a better way to be actually than sort of worrying about.
Yeah, I guess maybe
not
it's just
being normal.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't been exposed to it before, but also wasn't told that wasn't the right choice to know the difference. Yeah, it was strange. Yeah. So yeah, I was sort of I ended up being a part of the furniture around AA and sort of around the meetings and stuff. I've seen some very famous people. I've made a cup of tea for.
Before you say it, are these people already well known to have come out as being?
Bleep the names and
I don't want to
Can you imagine?
job for us.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that they're probably
Sir Keir Starmer.
yeah. Rishi Sunak. Have the name? I'd be around here watching Sky.
No, but if it's someone who's like known to be,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first one I was going to say was very much in the papers for
Go on, then.
his multiple addictions. But it's either Busted or McFluffy. I forget.
oh
which
yes, I know the one.
Matt Wallace.
Willis.
Busted,
Yes,
wasn't he?
yeah, because
yeah.
he was in a documentary that featured the Provenance as well.
See,
Yeah,
we're scot-free on that one.
There you
Keep
go.
that in.
Yeah. Who else was there? So, from EastEnders, Ricky.
Oh yeah.
What's her name?
Owen. Oh, Bianca. Oh,
Yeah, she's
Bianca in the
Patsy
show.
Palmer.
Patsy Palmer, that's
Yes. She did a convention in Boscombe, which was kind of like, like Comic Con or something like that.
Yeah.
It's basically like AA Con.
Did you dress up for
Acorn. Yeah, just dress up as a bottle of duff. No, it's plain clothes. But yeah, she was like the main spokeswoman at that particular convention.
Having been through it, or
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, she sort of opened up. So basically, quite similar to how sharing at a normal meeting would have been, she was the spokesperson that did basically a huge meeting for a wider audience. To which afterwards people obviously did the same. Again, stood up, went, "My name's Liam, I'm an alcoholic, thanks so much for your share, it was amazing, I can relate to it on this level, that level, whatever it was," or they could just keep themselves to themselves. But yeah, she was like the main sort of spokesperson for that one. So yeah, rub shoulders with some
Cool. Well, I mean, as long as it's in, what's the word? It's all in good spirit, and
yeah,
all trying to help each other. It doesn't matter if you're famous or not, really.
That's it. I think
using your platform to help others.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I think in a way it kind of helps because Matt Willis.
That's it, not Wallace.
So he was just at a regular meeting. It wasn't like This must have been after his rehabilitation. Again, they do that whole program of 60 and 60. So he must have just been going because he was just at a regular meeting. It wasn't like it was. He was a spokesperson at the time, so
he was famous at this point.
He was. He was famous. Oh yeah. So he'd already been through his.
It was one of those where I think his fame actually brought him the struggle.
Right.
Yeah, kind of almost opened the door for him to have a lot more exposure to it, I guess. So yeah, he was just at a regular meeting, whereas Patsy Palmer was a little bit more, like you said before, using her higher up sort of platform to sort of say, we're all human at the end of the day. I've sort of gone off track a little bit here, but yeah. So meetings was a big thing. I've got the Serenity prayer on my arm, which was again something I did before I lost my mum.
Let's pause and let's talk about the Serenity prayer for a minute, because it's I think it's an amazing phrase, and not just from a religious perspective. I just think as a mantra in life, it is really, really quite beautiful.
Yeah, that was the main reason why I did it. Was not because of.
I know it's got the connotations with AA and other things, but it's really quite amazing.
Yeah,
so
I've got to hold my hands up.
So for those who don't know it, you will know it once you hear.
Yeah, you probably So long and short of it, it starts with God, obviously. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. they say that literally at the end of the meetings, or generally like in like a sort of a circle of some sort, probably holding hands and stuff like that. They'll say it and they'll give their peers a hug and just go, oh, that was amazing, such a good, again, just sort of recognition really.
And I think from a mental health perspective, and what we might come on to later, it is so beautifully written to encompass so much, to grant me the wisdom to know the difference between what I can change and what I can't, because what I can't change often is what's causing me pain.
Yeah.
And so being able to recognise that, ring fence it, and just park it is a really, I mean, it was something that helped me through therapy. Being able to I mean, I spoke about it in our episode. One of the things that I was hung up on was other people's thoughts and opinions of how I was managing my grief and my situation and moving forward. I can't change what people think of me. So actually part of the Serenity prayer for me was thinking about what I can do to make sure people know I'm doing all right or making the right decisions, and actually not giving a fuck about people whose opinions don't even, what does their opinion matter anyway? For
what's it gonna get you?
And what's it gonna get me?
For caring about it, kind of thing.
I think it's beautiful that. I think it's great. And
like I say, I got it before I lost my mum as a mantra of something like, there's going to be obstacles that I'm not going to just hit the top of the pile with no obstacles in my way or whatever. I'm not going to get through daily life with no obstacles. There are going to be things that are going to interrupt me or whatever, and I need to know what ones sort of matter to me and my personal family, my journey, that are going to sort of, and just to know the difference between sort of what I can control and what I can't, and sort of things like that. So yeah, it was a message that I wanted to carry on with me, to sort of try and help me remind, it's almost like a reminder.
Yeah, I mean, a mate of mine puts it in his wallet. He hasn't got it tattooed on his arm,
right.
But at least it's...
I've got the AA Serenity coin that says it on the back as well.
In your wallet.
At home. It stays at home.
But I think it's awesome, and I think it is a really powerful thing to actually think about being able to distinguish things that you can compartmentalize and go, do you know what? Yeah, I can tackle that. I do have the courage to take that on. It's
a good philosophy to have, just like I said, like you just mentioned, sort of thing in life, really, just so that you can kind of, no matter how much life is life in, you can kind of go, right, well, let's focus on the bits I can change to overall better myself, better my people, better my friends, family, whatever, whoever it may be.
I think we touched on that a little bit in the last episode we did, the three of us as well, where I said that I wish that's something that I could do, is to switch off a little bit sometimes. Yes. And you said, I do it until what end, and that's something that I'm trying to cope with in my head. Is exactly what you're saying, is to look at the problems I've got in my life and say, well, these are the ones I can deal with or can do something about, and these are the ones I can't. So why am I focusing so much energy on the problems that I literally cannot have an effect on? And if I'm like you said, if I'm fighting the battles, to what end am I doing it? Because it's only to the detriment of myself. So I love that. Like I said, I've not heard of that before.
Like I say, it's just a nice thing for me to sort of remember who I am, but also where I've been and what I've come from, but also something to carry forward. So like I say, I've lost my mum, so it's obviously something that, no matter how much I struggle to sort of try and get her sober, get her on the straight and narrow, it ultimately didn't work out. And I think I've got to now move on from that to try and make sure that I better myself for my family, my daughter, and things like that. And I think that's the main thing with me personally, is like all the information that I've been absorbing over the last 30 odd years from decisions that have been made from mum, dad, whoever it may be, to try and almost sort of go, well, I can do better than that for my sort of family. But also what you were just saying there as well, is that if you've got too much on your plate and you try to sympathise with everyone, you especially if you're anything like myself, you almost consume yourself worrying about things that really don't have any real point to where you need to go. You're too busy focusing on where they need to go, sort of thing. So sometimes it's easier said than done. I mean, I'm the worst for it. If someone gives me a problem, and even if it's not my problem, I'll try and find a way. Whether it works or not is a different matter. But
again, and that's what you touched on in the last episode as well, Con, is saying that. You said the difference there is you don't want to burden other people with your problems. Is that yeah.
This was in the last episode.
As seen previously.
So you touched on your mum passing, and sorry about that. How long ago was that? Was that quite recent, or?
It was a kind of a whirlwind sort of time. So I was 23 years of age. My mum was 42. So again, no age really to sort of get this news. I bit the bullet when I got to about 17, 18 to sort of move away from my mum because it was consuming me. This is again sort of in a way kind of.
Well, I mean, why don't we come on to that, the passing in a minute then? So It was consuming you leading up to your.
Just having to sort of hyper focus on her all the time. And if I ever went to go visit my girlfriend at the time that was in Southampton, I'd get home from a weekend and she'd gone, I felt lonely, so I picked the bottle up. It's like, how much easier would it have been to have picked the phone up? You've got umpteen amount of people that are in your same boat. You've got me, like, who gives a shit sort of thing. Just ring me. Because although, yes, I'm not around the corner, I can't be there in 5 minutes, but just that talk, just to sort of compartmentalise these demons that are clearly having a go at you, going, I can have a drink or whatever else it might have been. Just to sort of compartmentalise it and go, right, I can soften that with whatever. But for her, it was too easy just to be like, I feel lonely, so fuck it, I'm hitting the fuck it button. And it would be, I come home on a Sunday. I remember once she picked me up from the train station, literally, and she was quite a really, really good driver anyway. And she was like, oh yeah, get in the car. I got in the car. And she went to go start the car and it was still in gear and it like did that little jolty thing. She looked over and was like, oh, sorry. And I saw her eyes all hazy and was like, get the fuck out of the car right now. Luckily I was learning to drive, so we just switched seats for 5 minutes. But so basically this was my problem, was that it was consuming me too much with her just hitting the fucking button every time I'm not there to help. And it's just like, at the end of the day, you are an adult. You probably should have your shit together now enough to be able to cope for a weekend with me not being there. It got to a point where like I couldn't.
So you've gone from having this really tight bond of us against the world, to a bit of not resentment as such, but a little bit of anger creeping in for the behaviour that
pretty much
that you saw that because of the building blocks to sobriety being put in place. Hopeful that was a good path for her. To continue on.
What frustrates me the most was that I think our longest amount of sobriety, it was her, but it was a joint effort. It felt like it was mine as well. You get key rings every sort of month, 6 months, year.
Yeah, well, you're obviously part of the success.
I suppose, but we got up to the 3-year sobriety key ring. It comes on a key ring kind of thing. It's like colour coded. And it was really cool, like, although it's just a key ring, but it meant much more. And it felt like, although I was only young and I wasn't drinking anyway, I was like, we've done it, we've got 3 years under our belt, this is amazing sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, through one reason or another, we're back to day one again. And this, all that good work of, 3 years with no accident has just been ripped off, and you just put a big fucking donut on there again, you start from nothing. And it's just very frustrating when you think, like, I'm your son, and you still want to hit the fuck it button. Like, what more do you want me to do? Like, how much more can I give? And so I thought maybe the sort of like the cutting ties might help, and it did for a little bit. So I was.
And at this point, it feels like, by how you're articulating it, that you're the adult now.
Oh yeah.
You are the adult now in this relationship.
Yeah, I felt like that from the moment we were sat on that wall, and she said, "You've all got left." It felt like I was.
Mate, that's such a heavy thing for a parent to tell their child.
Yeah.
So you were 13 at the time, around about year 7,
I think
start
so.
secondary
I think so.
whilst most people play an Xbox or play with action figures, your
Yeah.
mum's telling you that she's all she's got left.
Yeah.
And then over the years, because you are part of it, I know you seemed a little bit awkward then when we said it was your sobriety as well as your mum's. It is yours because you've gone through every meeting with her, every step with her.
Yeah.
And like you say, for her to just chuck it all in the wind is not well, it is obviously angering, but it's so demoralising as well.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, I think that's the main thing. It's just like I say, how much more can I give to this cause if every time I take my foot off the pedal, you just decide to chuck stuff out the passenger seat? Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to drive us to somewhere better where we can have a better quality of life, because quality of life was shit as well. Like, you know, like when my nan, again, I'm sort of going backwards again now, but when my nan passed away, she left us not a mega, we've never been a family with money, or any sort of wealth for that matter. When my nan passed away, she left £1,000. So 500 went to my mum, 500 went to a savings account that I couldn't touch until I was a certain age. But I'm pretty sure she could. And again, it's money. It's not really anything that matters to me. But I never saw a penny of that because it all went down the gullet. And yeah, so like just things like that. Like it's like, you know, like how much more can I give if you're, you know, if I am all that you've got left, why are you trying to drive a wedge between us? Yeah. When I'm actually trying to get you something, I'm trying to better you. Like I'm not doing anything for me right now. I'm putting you on the pedestal. I'm trying to get you to somewhere that you think you want to be, and you go, no, I don't want it.
So at some point, you literally, going back to your that prayer and your tattoo, you literally saw the difference.
Yeah. I got to a point, like I say, I was sort of 17, 18, I think, something like that, maybe 19. I don't know exactly how old. It was a while ago. I basically bit the bullet and went, I'm going to live with my girlfriend at the time in Southampton. And for a few years it was good because the distance helped, and she knew that she, at this point technically, although I was only round the corner down the road, she literally had no one at this point. So like it's gone from all I've got left to I'm all I've got left. If I want this to work, I need to really pull my fucking finger out now because I've lost. You get to a point, I think, with addiction that you go, no, he's no good because blah 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 blah. He's no good because blah 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 blah. And then you realise you get to yourself. All you've got left is yourself, and you go, they weren't the problem. I was, but I didn't know that because I was too busy pissing it up. And yeah, I think that's what happened. I think it was that realisation of like, okay, I was the problem. If I want a relationship with my only family that I've got left, that was meant so much to me back then, I better pull my finger out. So it was good for a bit. She was sober. We'd visit. She'd visit. We had a good relationship. And then at the age of 23, my partner at the time was pregnant, but we didn't know gender. So 12 weeks, something like that, but around that sort of kind of time. She was showing, but she wasn't. I got a knock at the door at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, what the fuck's this? And Dorset Police, literally just keys at the door, Dorset Police. I'm thinking, well, he's far away from home because I'm in Hampshire now, so I'm a completely different constabulary. I'm thinking, what's he doing here? And he goes, is your mum Tracy Brennan? And I was like, yeah. Why do I need, what's going on? And he literally goes, you need to come with me. Chucked me and didn't chuck us, but put us in the yeah, you're bedside now. I was like, shit, did I pick that Mars bar? They wanted me for a Mars bar. Yeah, so literally we got in the meat wagon in the sort of like the bit where there's chairs and tables, not like in chains. Yeah. Blues and twos us all the way from Southampton straight down there.
With no knowledge of why?
Nothing. Literally, they said nothing. They went, are you Tracy Brennan's son? I said, yes. They went, come with me. That was it.
Oh my God, your panic must have been.
So I was thinking, has she been in a scuffle? Is she, what? Where are we going? I don't know where we're going. I know that we're going to Bournemouth, but what we're doing, where we're going, what's going on? Basically, yeah. So I see them pulling off for the junction for the hospital. So we're going that way. We're going like the sort of the spare road way. They're pulling off for the junction for the hospital, and I'm thinking, she don't live near the hospital, so this ain't looking good. And then literally,
it's so traumatic. Do you know, like, did they handle that properly? In my opinion,
oh no.
you know, that is
at that point,
that drive. It must have been
To be fair,
manic.
it was that quick. Well, I don't know how long the actual journey took, but it felt so quick. I didn't really have much time to really sort of process that side of it, if that makes sense. I never really thought about it until we've just brought it up then, if I'm being honest. So maybe it's just one that sort of flew over the cuckoo's nest. I don't know, I never really put much focus on it. But looking at it now, probably not.
Sorry, carry on.
No, that's fine. And then, so literally got to the hospital, rushed straight to intensive care. There she is, literally just, obviously machines keeping her going. Eventually got to speak to one of the nurses or whatever they are, and they basically said that she was unconscious for up to half an hour, as in like no pulse for about half an hour, there or thereabouts. They managed to get her heart going, and they're trying everything they can, drugs, whatever else, to try and get her reinvigorated. To basically cut a long story short, the next morning, I think it was, the main doctor sort of came in and pulled me to one side, basically said, we've got to turn the machines off. And she's not responding to anything, which was hard because for all of our faults, it was kind of like the realization, like, this is it now, this is it, you know, no matter how much hard work I put into it, it's not enough. So it was hard.
It's okay, mate.
But, you know, what really frustrated me the most when it came to the whole sort of like turning it off. So obviously they just put in, I guess, morphine, whatever they're putting in, and you can see her vitals dropping. And then all of a sudden, as they sort of flatlined, she like sort of started murmuring again. And I was like, she's in there. You got to, but it's too late by that point because they'd already pumped her full of enough drugs to kind of do the deed. But you know, I think realistically, ever since she turned 15 and the whole A-grade student dad passing away, literally at that point hitting the fuck it button, I'm pretty sure she behind the scenes had her hand fully planted on that fuck it button ever since. It was kind of, it's weird. Now I look at it now and I think she wasn't made for this world. So there was too many things that were complicating her. That, you know, when she was really good at her work, she was really focused on work. She used to be an aerobics instructor. She used to have like loads of classes, blah blah blah. You know, business was booming. She had this is how old it was. She had her cassettes nicked in Boscombe, and instead of being like, I'm going to come back fighting, she just went, oh well, I won't do it anymore. So she's quite happily just kind of go, fuck it, never mind, and things like that. So like, it sort of seemed to me that like this world just wasn't made out for her. There was too many things in the way for her. She was in her I say older years, she was only 40 odd, but in her last couple of years before turning 40, she found out she was celiac. She found out she was bipolar. I guess it's probably because of technology being a little bit more advanced now than what it was then when she was younger, to sort of obviously put a finger on what it was. But it's kind of almost a little bit too little too late kind of thing. So that was quite hard for me because I was becoming a dad at the same time that I've just lost my mum. So that was tricky. Had to kind of try and sort of sugarcoat it or sort of put a brave face on it. But yeah, it was tough. It was really, really tough because I've got to be a pillar of strength for my unborn child and my girlfriend at the time that's sort of obviously going through quite a big change. And I'm like, I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't think of anything other than just wanting to be by myself. And that sounds quite selfish in a way. But like, I didn't really want to, at the beginning, sort of really want to put much time into it because it was just a case of like, do you not realise what I've just been through? Like, but again, that's sort of me being selfish in a way that.
It's your.
I
Can't help your feelings.
Yeah. So yeah, she was 42 when she sadly passed. they basically did a post-mortem, and it was a cocktail of alcohol and some medication, like prescribed, unprescribed, I don't know what, Valium maybe, and obviously the two don't mix well. And yeah, basically she was found in a bathroom, unconscious. The person whose house she was in panicked, ran away. Then I think the guilt hit him and he came back, but at that point it'd been a long amount of time. Obviously then add on top of that an ambulance arriving, so that's where the time frame kind of came from. So yeah, it hurt a lot.
It's going to be a horrible question. Did you carry guilt for not being there?
Oh, massively. Yeah, 100%. Because a part of me thinks, oh, but if I was there, I could have stopped that. I would have seen the signs. I would have been able to see, or yeah, 100%. If I was, it's one of them things that sort of like I've got to live with now, to know that if I was there, I could have helped, but because I wasn't, I couldn't. But again, in a way, it's kind of one of them things, isn't it? It's not, whether I was there or not, she was going to try that anyway.
Yeah.
So me being there or not could have possibly not, you know.
Well, exactly. You don't know. Do you?
Yeah.
She was around someone else's house. She could have just said to you, "I'm off out."
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know, man. You can't beat yourself up on.
And by the way, I'm not asking because I expect you to have guilt. I just know if I was in that position, that's how I would be feeling.
Yeah.
Everybody would.
It's difficult to live with, 100%.
Yeah, God.
Because it's like, it's one of them things, isn't it? It's like the unknown, isn't it? It's like,
yeah.
if I could have been, but again, like you say, I don't know who would have been, where it would have been.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of them. I guess it's just been sort of something that's like a niggly thing at the back of my mind that I try not to consume me too much. But yeah, so that's the main part of it. But again, like I say, my dad's in and out at points, because also he was in from my younger years when I was being raised by my nan. He was out in Germany because he was in construction, and that was where the business was at the time. We used to sort of reference something that went straight over my head at football one night.
Oh yeah,
construction in
Auf
Germany.
Wiedersehen, Pet. If anyone's familiar with the sitcom from the 80s.
I mean, I've heard of it, but you've got years on all of that.
Well, the gist of it is there was a boom of construction in Germany that saw a lot of Brits go out there to earn good money by going out there. But I won't go through the sitcom itself.
Yeah, you put it much nicer than I was. I was like, nah, it's before my time, mate.
Get out, Grandad.
Sponsored by Auf Wiedersehen Pet.
Hell of a cast in Auf Wiedersehen, Pet. Go back and watch it. But
Anyone we'd have heard of, or
Timothy Spall?
Nope.
no, was he in Harry Potter?
Yeah, he was the rat thing.
Oh, I do know who that is.
Yeah.
Say that. Leave with that. The Rat Man from.
The Red Bear.
Peter
Oh, you know.
Yeah. Jimmy Nail.
That name rings a bell.
Yeah.
Crocodile Shoes. Classic track. There's loads of them in it. Loads of them. Anyway, moving off of shit English sitcoms of the 80s. Yes. And your dad
working out in
was
Germany.
abroad.
Yeah, but where was I going with that though? What was the
I
point?
don't know.
I don't know, no. But
Okay.
yeah, my dad wasn't in the picture that often in my younger years.
Was there help for you around after your mum sadly died? Was there any help for like funeral arranging or tidying up her affairs, or did you have to do all of that on your own as well?
Yeah, all of it on my own. And I literally,
That must have been heartbreaking.
this part for me hurt the most, because so she passed away in the. My memory is, like I said before, my memory is shit
Right, Chief.
when it comes to stuff like this. But if you tell me what that bloke said in a meeting, God knows how many years ago. So my mum passed away on the 24th of April in the 2015. So it'll be, it'll be 9 years this year. And then I eventually put her to rest on the 26th of June, 2015. That hurt me a lot.
Yeah.
Because, again, like I said, I didn't have disposable income. I was trying to save as much money as I could, which was critical for my unborn child and for some sort of life for us. I had no one. I had literally no funds available, so I literally did a GoFundMe, and people basically sort of donated as much as they could, which was, it felt horrible at the time, being like, please sir, can I put my mum to rest?
Yeah.
And I basically had to ask all of my friends and
I think
family.
that's a really, really wonderful thing to do.
But basically the NHS sort of told me, they said we don't, I'll show it about the camera, they sort of said we don't sort of offer this to everybody, but we can clearly see that you're struggling financially. We do offer a no frills, and it is literally no frills cremation or funeral for any lost parents or lost ones, sorry.
I think in the olden days they used to call it a pauper's funeral. I don't know if that's a still used term, but and it's not a very pleasant one. But that's kind of how they packaged it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
because it was like let's have dignity regardless of what the means were.
So they sort of labelled it as a no frills, and it was literally she turned up in a limousine. We were already at the crematorium. Turned up in a limousine.
If you had said United Taxis, I would have pissed myself.
Number 5, number 6, number 7.
Brought to you by United.
We're pumping the sponsors out there. So she pulled up in a limousine. We were already there. She was carried in. It was literally
it sounds quite good actually.
Yeah, but it was literally just a case of here she is, and then a week later here she is, kind of thing. That was it. That was literally it was in, wheeler in, put behind the curtain. Right, next one. It was literally that quick. But in a way, again at the funeral, because she was quite vibrant, she was quite colourful, I made sure that nobody wore black, because I thought like the last thing she would want is for everyone to be like, ooh, being all sad. The bloke who did say a few words, again, being sort of like part of that sort of circle of AA, they're all quite banterish, they're all quite laddie, although the men and women all sort of ages, all walks of life. They're all very laddie, they all quite like to have a laugh. If somebody walks in with a limp, they'll be like, oh, you've got a stone in your shoe, or someone's got a patch on, they'll be like, aye, you know, that sort of thing. They'd always try and poke fun at people that have got something different about them. And the guy that we had that read the little bit of a service that I think I wrote or somebody wrote, fuck knows, it might have been he wrote it, I don't know. But he was, he got a cleft palate. I'm not going to do the voice. I was going to, but I thought, no, don't. He had a cleft palate, so he talked really not as eloquently as us. That's the best way to put it, I think. And literally everyone in there was obviously not wearing black. Everyone was very vibrant, very colourful, and they were like sniggering, like literally like mad. And I was like, this is what she would have wanted. She went out to her favourite Whitney song. She had all of her friends around her, all of her community around her, all giggling at this guy absolutely butchering the speech. And then as a wake, we went to a pub. Yeah. Which again I thought was like almost irony. Yeah. So we went to the Glass and Kettle on the seafront, which again is just nice views and probably a cheap venue. But yeah, that was it. It was kind of like the whole, let's make the best of a bad situation. Let's go to a pub for a wake. Let's all wear colour. Let's try and laugh as much as we could. And at the wake, it was amazing because literally again everyone was there in Hawaiian shirts and whatever else, and we all just sort of laughing about the good times. And it definitely made the situation a lot more bearable, which I think is what you want at a time like that.
So you said obviously you grew up with these people essentially. So the fact that they were there for you is testament to you and to your mum and to the job that you don't know what effect maybe you being there had on other people as well. So that's, you should be proud of yourself for that, mate, and for getting through it and doing your mum proud. And
that's the thing as well. I think a lot of the people that came up to me and was like, honestly, mate, you're doing amazing work in terms of what you've done and whatever else, and you're a credit to your mum and all that sort of stuff. It brings the tears on, but it was all said with real sort of, although they all like to have banter, it was a time to be serious, and they put themselves across really nicely and like sort of utmost respect. And I think that was the best thing, was that through the bad news that we've been given, we've been able to make it as bearable as possible for me and for everybody else as well, because of course they lost a friend. it's not just me losing. It's not just me that was losing somebody, although obviously she means more to me than to friends. But again, that bond is still made, so it's not easy for everybody else as well. So the fundraising that I did, by the way, I gave to the intensive care unit because I didn't have to put any money towards the funeral.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, now that I've tried to save money in terms of build up some funds to be able to make a funeral, and I don't need to, I gave it to, I don't know how, but I gave it, I promise. I gave it to
and do you know what? Giving is an amazing thing for helping through those situations.
Yeah, massively. I got
being able to give back, and I've done after losing my wife, she was hugely supported by the Marie Curie nurses, so I could have respite in the evenings and through the night. These amazing women would come and take care of her while I could sleep, and so raising some money through a funeral and all the rest of it to give back sounds crazy, but it was really helpful. It actually genuinely really helped me have a feeling of kind of doing something good through something bad.
Sort of turning it into something that
positive.
Can be,
and it is. It's so credit to you, and it's a really good thing to do. So anyone who's going through something like that, you see it a lot with people who do marathon runs on behalf of a charity to support their loved ones and stuff. So it does mean a lot. Well done, mate. She would be proud. She would be very proud, and as her friends hopefully enjoyed the send off, they would be proud as well. So
I do hope so. In a way as well, like I say, like because everything that happened was for me the norm. And now that I know that it's not the norm, it's given me a stepping stone to be better than that. So with addiction, I very much I'm quite like yourself in terms of that. Like my initial thought was just to get behind the bottle. But again, knowing the sort of like my addictive personality, I knew it probably wasn't going to be a good look. So it's given me another reason to sort of I can drink in social without having to sort of over excess. I think that again, being brought through what I'd been through, to know that limit, to know what I can change and what I can't, basically, and to sort of be able to differentiate, but also just to sort of say, right, that's not how to do it. I can do better than that. So again, like my dad not being there for me when I was a kid, sort of growing up, through no fault of his own. He was in a different country, granted, paying his way to my mum. So, but from my point of view, I didn't see him. So like I'm thinking, well, where is he, kind of thing. So I try to be there as much as I can for my daughter.
Were you offered any kind of counselling or support or anything like that?
I'm glad you mentioned that.
From the hospital or
not through the hospital.
Social services or
no, not through the hospital. I got given at the time. I was working for a clothing brand called Superdry.
Oh yeah.
In Southampton, and they basically. I went back to work like the day, like the week after it happened, and they were like, "Why do you look okay? Like, why are you okay?" And I was just like, "I've just got to get on with it. I've got to try and earn some money here somehow to put her to rest." They basically gave me 4 free hours of counselling through work, which was good because it was more than I was expecting. But I didn't really get on with counselling. It was quite frustrating because, much like we are now, it was an open forum. We could talk, and it was right. We know why you're here. We know what the event of that was, what led you to that point, which I think was quite good because it's kind of like it's all about going, my mum's not here anymore, but like, how did we get there? And it's good to sort of get like a little bit more context. But at the end of the 4th session, something that stuck with me again, like literally like glue. She goes, right, okay, well we're at the end of the last session. You're all better now, unless you want to buy some more. It's genuinely her actual words. She went, yeah, you're all better now, unless you want to keep going, unless you want to buy some more sessions. I was like. That for me, that's why for me, counselling. I mean, that might have literally just been a bad.
Did I mention it on the other one? I had a couple of poor therapists.
Yeah, and I did kind of think that.
I got one fella who I could just talk to.
Yeah.
And it was just talking. I didn't actually feel like I was having therapy. I didn't feel like I was on a the shrink's couch with a spotlight.
Yeah, on the show's lawn.
Talk me about your relationship with your mother.
Yeah,
stuff like that. You know, like they did with you in your situation.
Yeah.
But and then an hour will just fly by, and I go, oh, do you know what? I've had a bit of a cry, and I feel loads better.
Yeah.
Just because I've had a chat, and you asked the right questions, and you listened, and I think that's the best kind of therapy.
Yeah. So the hours building up to it felt great, because it's like, instead of me putting all of this pressure of like what I'm feeling onto my pregnant missus, I was like, I can just offload it on you, and then I can walk outside and be somewhat normal. And it was great. And then the sort of left such a sour taste in my mouth when she was like, oh, you're all better now, unless you want some more. And I was like I say, it might just be a bad egg. It left a sour taste, a bitter taste in my mouth to think they're all. And again, that's just me just sort of generalising. But I was thinking, oh, they're all out for the same reason.
It's the experience that you have. So what are you left with?
But again, like I say, in a way, the community that you guys, but also in general, that we've built up together is, like I say, nothing short of extraordinary, really, because, you know, we're all blokes at the end of the day. We don't like to talk. We like to, if there's a bit of carpet we can roll up and tuck it underneath, then we'll do it. But is that the right choice? Sometimes it might be, just to sort of get it out of the way, but long term, it's definitely not.
So you've done the funeral, and you've now started the grieving process at the same time as becoming a dad.
Yeah.
So you've got these two conflicting challenges. I mean, where was your head at?
Good question. And I don't really have an answer. I don't really know. It was a bit of a blur, if I'm honest. The rest of the pregnancy, kind of the first sort of, probably until she was born, I didn't know where I was. Didn't know what planet I was on. I was kind of just sort of a bit like, just getting on with it, sort of doing one day at a time kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Just sort of, and then the reality hit with when literally my Ella was brought into the world 2 and a bit weeks early, but she was still fully cooked, but it was earlier than. It's like an oven, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't worry, mate. So, I know about it.
So she was 37 and 2, I think it was. She was 2 days over her like fully cooked, but she was coming, sort of thing. There was a few sort of issues with pregnancy, not dilating. She had to be rushed into an emergency C-section, but she'd already had the epidural. So she started going into some sort of like shock and sort of shaking whilst trying to give birth through the sunroof. That's the correct term. So it was literally at that moment when they brought this little blob over the curtain, because obviously she's been cut open the other side, and I was like, right, fix up. We've got something physical. We've got to sort of do stuff with now.
Get real.
Yeah.
But even that is a traumatic experience. My little boy was born via emergency C-section, and
you mean through the summer?
Sorry,
come on,
through the summer.
Talk like a bloke.
And it was. I remember being in the room and they'd said, well, when they'd brought him out, they said, right, we'll take you over to the table to see him, because he wasn't breathing at the time either. So then I've got all that, and they said, when you turn around to come away though, just turn to your left, because if you turn to your right, you'll see your missus. And of course, I turned to my right, and there's like guts and spleen and
like something like a saw.
And you felt really faint.
And I was like, what the? It was like, it was. But then I was going to say that is again another traumatic experience. Although you were lucky enough that Ella was well. It's still like your partner going through that is horrific. And I know the 2-3 weeks afterwards, my partner, bless her, was just absolutely horrific for her. And so that's another traumatic experience that you're going through. Obviously, you've got this great thing that's come out of it, but there's still something that you've got to deal with.
It was hard, I must admit, because she was going into this sort of like shaken shock situation, they basically just knocked her out He had a DJ booth. It literally looked like a DJ booth. DJ Dave.
Russ was there.
Yeah. With the sunglasses, smoke machine.
With that card from your birthday.
Fireworks.
Yeah, literally, it looked like it was a DJ booth. It was so strange. That's the only way I can put it down as. That's all these knobs and dials and stuff. And he literally just looked at her and was like, because she's shaking quite aggressively, we're just going to just turn that one up. And literally, she was like, that was it. She was gone. And then that was it. She was still. So that was one thing that was worrying, because it's like, well, hold on a minute. Is she okay? Do we know that everything's okay over there?
Lack of information.
Yeah. And then when they sort of went, here she is. They put her over the curtain first, but there was no noise. There was no noise. So like you, obviously, again, I'm very thankful that there was no real underlying issues in terms of not breathing, because that is horrible. When you think about, you've got a new child and then you've got that immediate like fight or flight of why isn't it doing normal?
It's not doing what it does in the movies.
Why is it not doing that? But there was no noise, and then just heard one, and that was it. And she was like, she is crying, she's breathing, and she's okay. And I was like, okay, I can kind of be a little bit more relaxed now. But they left me this side of the curtain. They never took me over the car crash side. Yeah. They left me this side and just sort of brought it around and went, here you go. And then with scrubs. And I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah. After about half an hour doing this, my arm would sort of like seized shut. I was like, mate, she's only like £7. This is heavy. Like, do you know what I mean?
And did you feel you didn't know what to do? So like I say, when
I went stiff.
When he was born, I literally got to hold his hand and then straight into the incubator upstairs to Niku. And then I was allowed to go up. Obviously, my missus wasn't. They were sewing her up and whatnot, closing the sunroof. And when they finally said he was well enough that they could bring him out of the incubator, so they opened the side and were like, okay, go on then. And I was like, I literally said to the nurse, I was like, can I just sit down and can you like pass him to me, because I don't know how to. Like I've held babies, like I worked in childcare and I've held babies, and my nephews I held when they were just born, shit like that. But all of a sudden I was like, I literally cannot pick this baby up. You're going to have to pick this baby up and hand it to me. And then sat and
that's amazing.
Sat upstairs in Niku, had him in my arm and had like a. You know when the baby's born in Only Fools and Horses?
Yes.
And he talks to Damien. It was like that.
He's talking to his mum, isn't he?
Exactly.
In the window, talking to his mum in the stars.
Yeah, and it was like a movie, but I was like, I don't know, I can't pick this fucking baby up. You're gonna have to hand this baby to me.
It's horrible. But I must admit, I wouldn't recommend a planned C-section. Absolutely fine, because obviously you know what you're going in for. And you can, although it's planned, you can still make it ambient lighting, lovely music, and a bit more settled and all that sort of stuff. But with the way that it was, because obviously it was meant to be a natural birth, she wasn't dilating, so they did some stuff. I don't know what they did some stuff up there. That didn't work. So then it led to the epidural, which was like kind of that will release the right whatever to get things going. So widen out a little bit, basically.
Honestly, it sounds like we had such similar like experiences with having our children.
It's horrific. Because bearing in mind this whole procedure of us going into hospital, because her waters broke, and then basically they obviously had a little play out there and went, okay, well she's not quite ready yet. You can't just say play. You've got to give it a little. You've got to sort of.
I was more worried by the up there. I think that's why they got it all wrong.
It was the mic
with a head torch. Click that
on. So literally it was a case of like, so the waters broke, but then they were like, okay, we'll go home. And we're like, well, no, the waters have broken. It was like, go home. If not within 24 hours, nothing's happened. I was like, what do you mean nothing's happened? Do you want me to check up there and stuff?
I really hope Ella's mum doesn't watch this, by the way.
I'll probably tell her.
All my missus,
If nothing's happened, then just come back in 24 hours. So obviously that's a day, and then the next day, again, nothing had really happened, and it got to a point where like, okay, so if the waters have broke, we're in the window now of potentially infection. So we've got to induce you. So it's an induction, trying to induce them first, which led to nothing. But none of these things are straight after the other. There's like 12-hour windows in between. So then, the whole emergency C-section came along. But again, that was, although we were rushed in, that wasn't, it was announced and then a length of time before the actual thing, and then obviously then the whole shaking thing. So literally Ella's mum didn't really sort of hold Ella until sort of 2 days after the actual pregnancy. She was literally like just coming in and out of consciousness, and that's probably the first day actually. So the first day after having her, she was kind of all over the place. She didn't really sort of, the whole skin to skin, that sort of initial bond wasn't really sort of made straight away. But I was grateful that I was there so that I could make that bond, because literally it stopped at me. Like there was nobody else. Literally like the first dookie. I didn't know what that was. We didn't do it.
Black like tar.
Yeah, just like a jar of Marmite.
Yeah.
Love it or hate it.
We've gone down a totally different.
Anyway, yeah. But it was all our first, and like I say, it was all up to me, something. But in a way, like I say, it sort of really sort of went right. There's nobody that you can rely on right now. She's about as useful as a fart in a spacesuit. It ends at you, Liam. You need to fix up at this point. So like, regardless of what I had going on and what probably was still milling around in my head, just went into a significance, because it was fight or flight. I had to be there for my little smelly bum. That's what I call it. It's my smelly bum.
So if you don't mind, Liam, I just want to talk a little bit about something that you spoke to me briefly about. I don't know if you spoke to Russ about it at football, and I don't know if you've spoken to Connor about it before, but obviously the premise of what we're doing is 23 mph, so 23 men per hour take their lives, and a further 20 make an attempt for every. I said before, I really don't want to use the word a successful attempt, but I can't think of a better way to put it. So I don't know if you're comfortable sharing your experience of that.
Yeah, it was really strange, but basically the long and short of it was obviously that, again, a huge sort of motivator for me wanting to sort of tell you guys, more importantly, but after hearing what you said, my story was that I was one of the, I could have been one of those 23. I ended up being one of the 20 that attempted, because just things, basically I tried to take my own life, simple as that. It was a sort of a ton of events that just couldn't, it all weighed on me at too much at one point. And it was really quite fun actually. It's what led me to coming into the football community. It's what led me to all of you guys, and I'm still here, just about. But yeah, so basically I went through like a weird sort of phase. Not many people like my car. Everyone always jokes about my car and things like that, but it's my little baby. It's my other baby, if you think, apart from my actual baby, who's 9 soon. That's mental. But yeah, basically sort of a ton of events about a weekend. I crashed my car, which led me to not have it. I gave Ella back over the weekend, and I'd recently just lost a relationship that felt like it was the one. All 3 of those in that weekend just kind of threw me right off of kilt. Not to say that I was running on all cylinders anyway. I was, you sort of, you have good days and bad days, but this particular weekend, once the sort of reality hit of, I've given my daughter back for the weekend, it felt like I had no purpose. I was like, all right, I now have no car, no relationship, and now no child. I just felt useless. Basically, long and short of it was I picked up a can of that stuff over there. Other drinks are available. And a shitload of basically like paracetamol, anything I could get my hands on. But obviously I had to go to different shops to get it, because you can only get 2 packets at each shop. Coming back from dropping Ella home, and I literally picked up a can of Monster and just as many drugs and just any old shit I could find. Went out to where I've actually scattered my mum's ashes, the majority of them anyway. It's a real nice, peaceful, serene place in the middle of nowhere, basically. You might know it, Knowlton Castle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not in church, sorry, church, not castle, church. Yeah. I fucking love it out there.
Yeah,
Literally, it's the best. So it's obviously, it's like kind of Corfe Castle, but on a smaller scale.
Okay.
It's kind of like, it's just ruins now. It's an old church that's just
I'll have to
ruins.
look that up.
Like paving grounds.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's kind of like the church grounds is literally on that kind of like a humped ring. From that ring, there's kind of like a little bit of a divot, and it's literally like on a platform. But the views, you get like 360 views. It's haunted, so people like going out there for that. But I love going out there just because it's so clean and serene. What? It's reported to be. It's reported.
If you like.
Yeah. It's reported to be.
Yeah, go on.
It's reported. I've not been out there for that reason. I go out there for just to sort of relax, release, and just sort of be kind of as close as I can be to my mum, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They got the wailing tree with all the ribbons and stuff. I've got a ribbon out there for her. I actually renewed the ribbon this anniversary, just gone in April.
Did you say renewed?
Yeah, so basically,
have
basically it got tatty, and I think I put it on a part of the tree that they chop down every year.
Right.
I went out there and was like, where the fuck's my ribbon gone? So I renewed it because I put it in the wrong place, basically. And it's more inside now, so it won't be tampered with too much. It'll just be the wind and shit. So yeah, I've renewed that, and I was not at the same time. So sorry, I've two different situations now.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
It's fine. We'll just edit you out, mate. It's fine. He's not even there. And basically, I went out there because it was the closest I could be to my mum without actually being there, if that makes sense. And I just thought, this is it. I've had enough now. I can't do this anymore. And yeah, just started like popping like a whole blister at once, just knocking down straight away. And yeah, just sort of, I remember people walking past me, because people do go there to pay respects to lost ones and whatever else, and they just see me just laying there crying, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm like, if only you knew what I'm actually doing here, you'd have no idea.
So this wasn't like middle of the night or anything like that?
No, this was, yeah, so I normally drop Ella home on a good day between sort of 5 and 6, so it was sort of like, this would be coming up to sort of, how long have we been at thingy now?
What, Man Be Fat?
Yeah.
Was it 2001 it started? It was after COVID.
What, the Bournemouth one?
Yeah.
2001?
Sorry, 2021 I meant.
Oh, right, okay. So yeah, it must have been around then. It must have been, because I didn't start right at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, you were close.
But I was like 2 games in, I think it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically, I just hit the fuck it button. I was up there, daylight sort of thing, like I say. I think I might have dropped it home early as well. I think I was like, yeah, get in there early, because I'm not functioning right, and I think I don't want her to see any of this. Just left loads of notes on my phone for my loved ones, like my dad, Ella, her mum, stuff like that. I just thought that's it. When they find me, they'll just go, oh, right, okay, this is what I had to say about you, this is what I had to say about you. And that was it. I hadn't really sort of thought much more about it. That was it. That was like my final moment kind of thing. And it was unsuccessful, but that wasn't because I didn't want it to be successful. It's just it didn't work. There wasn't enough. It didn't work. I basically, after a couple of hours of being sat out there thinking, why am I still here? I just drove home and was like, it's just not worked.
I don't want to know on camera, maybe off camera. I'm curious to know the quantity, because if we put it out there, then someone will know the threshold.
The thresholds, yeah. But I mean, everyone's different as well.
Well, quite, but
quite a stocky lad.
Yeah, you can't kill an elephant with a pea shooter.
Yeah, exactly.
But what was the process? And forgive me, but the process of consumption. Like you're just thinking each one of these is getting me closer to oblivion.
Yeah. I wasn't. It's not. I dabbled with the idea of taking my life a couple of times before, but it's all just kind of like, I'll just chuck myself on a bus and be done with it. Or and you know, there was never any sort of. I didn't research on like successful methods to take your life. I don't think anyone really does unless they've attempted more than once. But yeah, basically, that was what I thought would be the sort of the killer blow, as it were, for a better word. And yeah, but a few hours later, I started to feel a little bit. Basically, I didn't feel quite myself. So I rung the hospital and said I've taken a lot of tablets. I've tried to take my own life basically. I said, "Are you driving?" And I was at the time. And they went, "Right, pull over, please." I was like, "Yeah, good shout."
I like that you can joke about it, but God,
I know,
honestly,
well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's one of the things I've put sort of like
the anguish that you must have been experiencing.
I couldn't see a way out. That was my only logical explanation. And then once the mist had sort of melted off, I then realised it's probably not the best choice. The immense amount of selfishness I felt as well, because it's like my daughter would have been 6 going on 7, or just turned 7, or around that sort of time, and thinking, I struggled as a 23-year-old to deal with my 42-year-old mum passing away. Imagine what that would have done for my mum struggled when she was 15 with her dad passing away at the age she was.
History repeating.
Imagine how bad it would have been for her as a 6, 7, however old year old she was, having to deal with not having a daddy anymore, sort of thing. So yeah, the immense amount of sort of how selfish I felt was enough. Sort of like guilt almost was enough to sort of be like, if I'm not feeling right, I need to sort myself out. So I went to the hospital. They said, "Are you driving?" I said, "Yes." They said, "Stop." So I pulled over. They said, "There will be an ambulance with you. We can't guarantee how long. We think it might be a couple of hours." And I was like, "Okay." I walked to hospital then. I'd literally just as I got out of my car and walked up, like sort of a few minutes down the road, an ambulance had arrived at my destination where I was, the what 3 words thing. But I was already gone by that point. So I walked to hospital. Everything was, all the sort of, all the what do you call it?
ECGs and
all of that stuff was wired up. I spoke to this was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Spoke to like an out of hours psychologist, whichever one it is, and sort of told him what led to that event. Was like the not just the three bits of the hat trick of losses that I'd taken that weekend, but just everything else. But what he sort of took away from it, he was writing down notes the whole time. He was listening, but he was writing down notes the whole time. And he went, "Just in summary, from what you've told me here, this is your first attempt at taking your life." And I was like, "Yeah, it was, yeah." He's like, "But you've told me here, in quite depth, in quite length, that you have plans in your future to have a place of your own, that you can call your own with your daughter and have your own family area. You've told me that you're the biggest weight you've ever been and you want to lose weight. And you said that you've heard of a thing in regards to sort of enabling you to lose weight through football." I was like, "Yeah, I have." He's like, "Yeah, okay." So although this is your first attempt, this isn't your normal for you to want to hit this kind of button kind of thing. And I was like, "No, it's not." And he's like, you've got a future, you've got plans in place for a future." And he was like, it's kind of like the sort of the realization that, like, although at the time that was the option I took, he was sort of basically spelled out that it was the wrong choice, and that there's more to life than the avenue you were going down. But you've already got the right bits in place to sort of get you going on that sort of thing. So yeah, it was literally like the weekends. The next week after, I signed up to footy with the lads. I played football on the Tuesday, and then I played properly on the Friday, and
it was that quick.
Never looked back. Yeah, literally. So the first time I played football on that Tuesday, it was literally earlier on the week before that I took my own life. Sorry, that I attempted to take my own life. That's incorrect. I wouldn't be here talking if I did.
We've spoken about how talking is important, and I mentioned about sort of a crossroads or a fork in the road that could lead, or if we were closer to the fork in the road, we could prevent someone taking that path. Do you think that that if you'd have had a mechanism, or if you'd had someone to call or something to something to fall back on during that moment of crisis, it would have helped.
For sure, 100%. If I'd have already known you guys, not just you guys, but you know what I mean, like our community in general, I don't think I'd have got to that position.
That's good.
Because of just how open, how welcoming, how, again, like we've kind of said, that like we take on board other people's problems and we'll try and find solutions for them. That's the majority of the people, if not everybody, has got an ear open for any problems that you might have, and always got a solution. But they've never let it get to the point where it's consuming them. They know when to sort of go, right, like what? They know when someone needs an arm, or a little bit more than an arm, and they know when to sort of step back. And I think, yeah, it wouldn't have been the same story if I'd have already known you guys. It wouldn't have got to that point, because although I kind of thought about it on the way here, but like people sort of say that like disabilities might not necessarily be visible all the time. It's the same with like mental health. Like
100%.
Like I say, I went back to work the week after I lost my mum, and nobody knew until I actually told them, and they were like, "Hey, you look normal." I mean, what is normal? But you know, it was that sort of that look of how I can sort of carry on without people giving me funny looks.
I think it's because we fear judgment.
Yeah.
And we fear that, oh God, if I tell someone, do they give a fuck? Am I going to bore them? And or also, does it somehow portray me in a negative light?
Yeah. It's showing weakness.
And show a weakness of either my life choices or my surroundings or my, in your case, your whole familial background. And none of that is true. Like all of that is in your head about judgment. And I would like to think that we've got no judgment in terms of anyone's background and circumstances. Whatever they're going through, they can open up, and there should be, almost like a Samaritans type approach of just talk and just let it out. And
100%.
we might not be able to solve everything, but you can at least offload with no one giving you any judgment.
And I think, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I know you said you started like 2 weeks into Man v Fatborn. I don't know how long.
I was from the off, yeah.
So you two, especially, have got to also give yourselves a bit of credit for how that community is and how it's been built, because it's not just a case of that you two went along and then 3 years later the community is the way it is just by chance. Like, you were part of that journey.
Yeah, I've got to be honest and say that this is an incredible turn of an offshoot of the Man v Fat benefit. For me, it was the ability to have a runabout and offload and just get a bit of I wouldn't say aggression, that's the wrong, just get a bit of blood. Yeah. It was that aspect that was helpful for me. This is another level. This is down to you, and it's an incredible thing that's come about. So I don't necessarily think it's because of the bonds that we built on and off the pitch. It's because you've seen an opportunity to talk.
And talking most definitely does help.
It really does.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of lads out there who could do with talking and offloading who don't know it yet. Do you know what I mean? So
I've thought about it a lot of times in regards to the other avenues with like the podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes this is a much better forum for my kind of issue, because although it's again, like I said, it's much more. This is much more relatable to me as a person and what I've been through in terms of very nearly being one of the 23, but also being part of that 20 that attempt. It's not something that I'm proud of, but in a way it is, because it's enabled me to sort of...
That's wise.
To open up and be like, as much as we're all men and we're all burly and we've all got a show that we're top G, realistically... we've all got stuff going on. I think you mentioned just a minute ago, but like that sort of a problem shared is a problem halved. Even if it's just talking and somebody listening, it's much better than you talking to yourself in here and snowballing it and whatever else. And and then you thinking that, oh yeah, this is a brilliant idea, and do you know what, fuck it, and end up being somewhere you don't want to be, or doing something you don't want to do.
Well, I've got to say, I think you're incredibly brave for being so candid about it, and I'm just glad it didn't work, and that you're here to tell the tale. And well, I'm lost for words. Actually, I'm in awe of your ability to articulate how it came to be.
I was panicking when I was coming here, because I was thinking, how am I going to get this across, and what am I going to say, and how's it going to go? But we said about it. We overthink things and stuff like that, and but it massively helps just having, people with open ears that can sort of listen. And like I say, I appreciate what you're saying as well. It means a lot that we can kind of have these sort of talks and bring each other together.
You're an amazing man, mate, and all credit to you for being willing to talk and open up. And I hope it's a story that people can listen to and actually think there is always light at the end of a dark tunnel.
Yeah,
always,
massively. Yeah. I think that's the one thing that, it's a massive thing. At that point of where I thought that there was no option other than to take my own life. Just to, like I say, if I'd have had anyone to talk to at that time, it would have been a completely different story, because everyone else would have gone, Liam, that's ridiculous. Why would you want to do that? Look at what you've got. You've got this amazing.
It's all right, man.
You've got that amazing little girl there that means so much to me. Do you really want to do that to her? And at the time I didn't think that. Of course I was just like, doesn't matter. But now, obviously, being the person that I am, it does matter. And she is literally everything to me. So yeah, it means a lot that, talking does massively help, 100%.
That's that one died. That one's still running.
Oh, okay. And we're live. But yeah, it massively helps. And I think, again, like we said, everyone's got stories. I was taken back by, sort of how much I can relate to, like, your anxiety on the phone. And just things like that. Like, I never knew that about you, but it's something that I have in common with you that I can now relate to you about. And I would never have known that if you hadn't have opened up. Again, with you, I've got so much respect for you as a person, because of so many people can just go, 23 people an hour, that's not a good stat, move on. Whereas you're like, that's not a stat that you're happy with, neither is anyone here. Let's put something in place to sort of try and make that stat, whether it's one more that's still with us that can.
I lost one of my best friends from school who killed himself in 2005, and we all, just as a friendship group, we just, even to this day, left a huge hole, absolutely devastated. And all that became of it, and I'll tell you after the record, was it was quite shocking what he'd been through, and he just kept it all in. He just kept it all in. He didn't tell anyone of the situation he was in, and had he have done, we all could have made a difference.
Yeah.
And that, in the close to 20 years that have passed, the ability to talk to lads on that level has changed immeasurably. And I'm so pleased that it's gone that way. That we can talk without feeling like, oh, you're a pussy, or that someone's going to look down on you. So yeah, it is really, really important to ask for help.
Massively.
We supported the Dorset Mind campaign through the football club, and the raffle and all that stuff, and there are resources out there. If you don't want to talk to the likes of us, there are other resources out there if you do want to keep it confidential, but you don't have to, and we're welcome to or you're welcome to approach any of us. I think that's fair to say at any point in time.
I think we mentioned before as well, I mentioned before, you can reach out to any of us, regardless. It doesn't mean that I want you to come and sit in Liam's seat and film it because I want to talk about it for that reason. Like I think I get a lot out of this as well, and it's really important to talk to people regardless of when it is or where it is. I'm always a text away. Maybe I won't answer straight away, but and I know the same goes for you guys.
As long as it's a text and not a phone call,
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Don't ring me, I won't answer.
How about a voice note? How'd you get on with voice notes?
I find them a bit awkward because you've got to listen to someone's voice note while you're like with other people. You start watching TV and someone's sending a voice note. I think it's a bit rude, isn't it? Might as well at that point just phone.
Yeah.
Do you know that if you listen to a voice note and you listen onto it on speaker, if you put it to your ear,
Yeah.
it comes through just the ear speaker, so it's like you're on the phone.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Have you got iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm earning.
I got bang.
So yeah, literally. So if it's just like
for me then, 'cause I'm on Samsung.
I mean, it might do. I'm pretty sure they're keeping up with technology. But like, if it's like
iPhone copy fucking Samsung.
They does tend to go that way.
generally. But yeah, if you've got like a 3-minute long voice note and it's going to be awkward in a room of 4 of you, you'd just be like, "Hi babe, can you pick up some flowers on the way home?" You couldn't just be like, "Well, fucking put that to the ear," and it will play through just the ear one, so it's like you're on the phone anyway.
That's
So you're on the phone without the anxiety of being like, "Yeah babe, yeah, I love you too," and all of that sort of shit. You can kind of keep that bit to when you're at home.
Let's get back on track just before we maybe wrap up. I don't know, Jimmy, but we had a kind of brainstorm of different topics that we may want to cover through this video's channel, the session, and I'm pretty sure that as far as bingo is concerned, you've got the full house on a lot of the topics that we wanted to cover.
So I'll just keep coming back every week.
Yeah, just keep coming back every week. But I guess from a mental health perspective, what are your sort of tips for managing yourself now, other than your Serenity prayer? What do you tend to do if you can get a sense of things becoming overwhelming again? Not to say that you're going through this in being in the same place that you were back then, but do you have any sort of practical things that you do personally to help you out?
Yeah, so basically now that I've got to the sort of the point of where I was at in terms of attempting to take my life, that's kind of like my bar in terms of that I don't ever want to get to that point. So I now have like a limit of how much I can bear with, if that makes sense, because if I take on too much and it all goes to pot, I know where I don't want to be, kind of thing.
No, someone uses that. In fact, we've got a prop here that uses the analogy of a jar, and you can only put so much in the jar.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So for me, it's kind of, and you just said with the exception of the Serenity prayer, but it's kind of pretty much just sort of compartmentalising when things are getting on top of you, to just have that sort of, because it's very knee jerk when you're like, okay, right, let's go and grab a shitload of drugs and end it. That's very knee jerk. But I think what you're not doing there is you're not just taking a minute to think it through. And although at that moment it is very reactionary, so just to have that sort of, right, what of all of this shit I've got in front of me, what matters the most, and where and how is it going to benefit me, and not necessarily benefit me, but how's it going to help me move forward to get away from being so close to my limit, my bar again. And again, we've said about it, but to have people like you, for example, but just our team, our whole group, there are some fucking good people out there, some real gents that are willing to listen, come rain or shine, come holiday or not. Because even when you were away on holiday, if I'm on holiday, I'd probably leave my phone at home. I wouldn't, because I'll see my daughter, but I wouldn't. I'd almost kind of leave it in the hotel room sort of thing. But to think that, like, even when you were away, to still have, although it was I can't remember what it was about now, but to have some sort of conversation with people, and to know that even when you're with your family and you're away out of the country, you've still got time for little old me. Even just that, having that conversation with you, that you reply back in a allotted time. I wouldn't say it was, it doesn't need to be straight away, but the fact that you were coming back to me is enough to know that he's away with his family, but he still cares enough to want to talk to me. Just things like that, and just sort of, don't know if I'm getting it across properly, but it means
appreciation, gratitude.
Yeah, 100%. To know that there are people that will be there for you at any point when it gets too much, or when you're having just before you go on the pitch, having a bit of a moment, to be able to open up. I respected you a lot for that in our private chat, if you don't mind me saying it. A few minutes before the game, he was sort of having a bit of a sort of an episode. I think you sort of.
So I've had panic attacks and anxiety attacks before, and it was actually the week we played you guys, and I said to you as well.
Put the fear in you, don't we?
No, you told me afterwards.
Before that game, for some reason, I almost, like you were saying, was at that bar where I thought, I'm going to have a panic attack at the moment, and that football brought me out of that situation, and fucking best game I played, actually.
Stunning couple of saves in the first minute.
Do that every fucking week.
It was quality.
That was really, I felt myself getting to that, but I've had so much going on, personally, professionally, just everything that it felt like could happen was happening. But football and that community pulled me out of that. Yeah. And it's weird, I talk a lot about my son and my partner, how it's weird that people can pull you out of those situations, just by them being there, or just by being involved with them.
100%.
Yeah. Couple of weeks back, it was at football, and I was in my own head, or whatever it was, after the game, because I've got to hang around till the end most of the times. At the end of the game, sort of I was just I don't know, I was in my own thoughts, and you sort of overanalyze, and you're angry at yourself and whatever else, and you sort of almost hyper criticizing yourself for no reason. And then literally Ella and Steve came out, because obviously Ella's assistant coach to Steve, so that's an official role. She's on the books. She came out, and literally it was like it was all mist, it was all that red mist, and all of a sudden literally I saw her face, and I was like, gone. It's gone. And it's just like, do you know what? That's what matters. And all of this hyper criticising and analysing myself doesn't matter. That's what matters. And it's just that, so things like that, just having things in your life that you want to, especially with what I've been through, I don't want to end up being just like my parents, if that makes sense. They've shown me how not to do it in a roundabout way.
No, that's true. We should learn from past behaviours. On how to improve our own behaviour.
Yeah. So again, I'm not massively reliant on alcohol. I barely drink now. I've had a bottle of whiskey since my birthday last year. It's still unopened. I've not even cracked it yet. It's been sat on the side for over a year. It's just I could just have an episode where I just want to just glug the whole thing, but it's been sat there for over a year. I don't need it. Do you know what I mean?
Because you've learned to deal with it.
Compartmentalise. Exactly. Like you say, If I want a drink, I can crack it open and just have one. If I wanted to have a couple, I can have a couple, but I've not had that want to drink, because I know my limit, but also I know where it could end up. I could end up being reliant on that alcohol to the point that I end up just like my mum. And then
it's very powerful, man.
Yeah, really.
It's very powerful.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No, I meant alcohol.
Oh well.
No, it is the ability to abstain.
Yeah.
Especially like when temptation is there, literally there in front of you.
Uncracked. It's fresh.
Thanks a lot, mate. Well done.
Yeah.
Cody, you are.
But I don't know really. Like I say, the community, the people, being able to talk, although we're men and we're not supposed to show weakness, you're not showing weakness by talking. You're showing that you're a person.
I think it takes strength, mate, not weakness to talk about.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the complete opposite of what you actually think. You think you're being strong, but actually you're
I listened to Simon Cowell on the Diary of a CEO podcast with Stephen Bartlett. I don't know if you watched that or listened to that. And Simon Cowell was talking about him going to therapy, and he says exactly that. It's far from being weak. It is absolutely something that comes from strength and strength within to open up. It is a strength.
Massively.
Talking and actually the weakness is bottling it up.
Yeah.
100%. I agree with that.
Because it only grinds you down to a point where you see no way out.
Yeah.
Eventually, and that's not what we want. That's the whole point of it. It's not worth it.
And how are you now?
I'm all good. I have good days and bad days. I remember when I had my psychoanalysis by the psychiatrist at the hospital. He did say that for me personally, he thinks it'd be good for me to go on to antidepressants. And at the time of when he told me that, I said to him, I don't want a pill to dictate whether I'm going to have a good day or not. Through one thing or another, it did get on top of me at one point, and I did start to get a bit in my own thoughts and whatever. So I did start the antibiotics.
Yeah, I called it that the other day. Yeah,
you did, yeah. But it gave me such an immense brain fog that when it came to having a reassessment as to whether they're working or not, it didn't work for me. And personally, like I say, I quite like the idea of being able to dictate how my day goes.
Cool.
Without the need for a tablet to be like, today's going to be a good day. If I don't take it, it's going to be a bad day. I want that control. I need that control, because otherwise, if I don't take it, then my whole day is fucked, and it's all because I didn't pop a pill at the start of the day. But yeah, he did recommend cognitive behavioural therapy, which I've not actually got that ball rolling through.
Yeah, I tried a bit of CBT. I didn't find it that helpful for me, but I have heard the statistics, or I've seen the statistics, and heard reports of it being really, really beneficial. I think it depends on where you are emotionally and your ability to process certain things. I think, like I said before, my anxiety and depression led to my more physical symptoms than emotional symptoms. And so for me, CBT, I didn't really have a problem with sort of processing things as such. It was more like the fact I kept overproducing the stress hormones, which was making me feel physically shit. But for helping reprogram, for want of a better analogy, CBT is supposed to be really good. So do take them up on that if you think that will be helpful.
I mean, something you said to me actually that stuck with me in the very first chat we had was you just need to find what works for you. So simple to but having it articulated like that, you think, oh well, fuck yeah, that's what I got to do. Because I got to find what works for me, and that might be a bumpy road, and you. To use an awful analogy, it might work in this situation. Is you've got to kiss a few frogs till you find a prince. I know that might not necessarily sound the best way of putting it, but that is.
Try some things that might make you uncomfortable.
Yeah. Right. I think if getting better was a smooth road, then no one would be having any mental episodes, and mental health wouldn't be a thing. But I'm not the same as you in some ways, so what would work for you wouldn't work for me. Exactly. You had a good experience with therapy in terms of, obviously you had to kiss a few frogs.
Yeah.
But you found your guy.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, the such a sour taste that was left from therapy has kind of left me in that stigma of, well, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Whereas,
but if you find this therapeutic, then we'll do more of this.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, I think that's the thing at the end of the day, is that not everyone might be comfortable to speak in front of people, whether it be for content or whether it be just as a bunch of lads talking. But yeah, no, like I say, I think personally for me, the therapist sort of situation didn't really work out for me. I'm yet to try CBT to know whether it would be, but again, like I say, it's because it didn't work for Russ doesn't mean it won't work for me, or it might not work for me. Like, I might be able to relate to Russ in another way, but like I say, for me personally, like I say, talking is a massive thing. Like, obviously, I've spoke for nearly an hour and a half, so that talking's something I do a lot of.
I don't think it's just talking. I think you come across as having a really caring nature, and everything that you've done to support your mum, with all of those anecdotes and everything that you heard from a young age. I think that's given you a real sort of caring bedside manner. I wouldn't be surprised if down the line you might want to consider some form of professional counselling badge or something like that. I've just got a feeling that you've got that caring side to you.
I did think about it actually. It's quite a strange thing because once I sort of, again, I'm still not necessarily fully finished grieving. You spoke about it before in terms of sort of grief, because of the whole, losing a parent and gaining a child at the same time. That grief didn't really sort of happen straight away, but again, people might grieve for somebody in a week. People might grieve for somebody in a month, a year, whatever it may be. But there's no right or wrong length of time. You can kind of grieve, but in your own sort of compartment all the way through your life. There's no right or wrong way to do it, sort of thing. But
you grieve the amount that you love someone.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, very true. But then, I did think about it. I thought to myself, well, like you say about the sort of the full house in terms of the bingo thing. It's kind of like, I've got so many experiences here that I could maybe bring that stat down a little bit, But again,
well, and we spoke about empathy as well, and having your experiences enable you, as horrible as they have been and as grim as they've been, the gift that it has given you is the gift of empathy.
Yeah, massively, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
And that is something that I've got a feeling that you will be amazing at passing that back.
Maybe, who knows?